People who dream of escaping to the country, and even worse, those who've actually done it, can be really hard to buy presents for. Well, if you've got someone like that in your life, stay with us, because today we're going to cover the very best books for those who dream of or are actually living the good life. Hello, welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the cottage and welcome to Practical Presents. My name's Hugh and today I want to talk to you about some of the books that have really inspired us on our journey to smallholding, self-sufficiency, self-reliance. Books that either cover the breadth of the topic of smallholding or really informed us and educated us on a particular skill or a particular topic that we felt we needed to know about. They're all books that I would have been delighted to receive as a present, books that I would replace instantly if I was to lose one or damage one. Now, don't worry about trying to scribble down all the titles. We'll put a list down in the description below where you can go and find and buy, if you choose to, any of the books that we're talking about today. Some of them might have a slightly different cover than the ones I show you because we've had ours for a long time and we really value them, but they're fundamentally the same books. Let's take a look. No conversation about self-sufficiency and smallholding would be complete without this book. The New Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency by John Seymour. John Seymour kind of started this back to the land movement. He's the guy who inspired the people who wrote The Good Life. A guy who said you can live differently, you don't have to be on the 9 till 5 merry-go-round all your life. And this book is described as the book for the practical realists and the dreamers. And if there's someone in your life that dreams about living the good life but hasn't made the move yet, I would start with this book without a shadow of a doubt. Ask around, people will tell you the same thing. It's a great book. It encompasses the whole vista of smallholding and it gives you a vision, a blueprint for what it could be like. Let's take a little bit of a closer look. So let's take a look at the classic of the genre, John Seymour's New Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency. We can't cover it all. It contains a vast amount of information, but let's dip in. It's beautifully illustrated and contains massive amounts of information like what should be on my smallholding, but it drills into the detail. It starts looking at what crops should I grow when, and not just when should I plant them, but when do they need to be sown under glass? When do they need to be protected by straw? When do they need to be earthed up? Real practical, solid stuff. And it shows things like, how do I care for my fruit trees? Not just how do I prune them, but how do I graft new fruit trees and produce my own from rootstocks? Also things like, how do I create a riven plank? How do I make my own timber for making buildings? It really takes it back to that level of fundamentals. And it includes all the fun stuff. Homemade wine, pickling, preserving, jamming, all those other great topics. The New Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency gives you an overall vision, a blueprint, a feeling of what smallholding could be like. But John Seymour wrote another book. This one, The New Self-Sufficient Gardener. It's out of print now, but I will link where you can get good quality second-hand copies. And it's much more detailed around growing veg, growing fruit, really taking those practical steps to feed your family. It's also great for someone, for example, who's going to start an allotment or who already has an allotment, who wants to grow vegetables in their back garden. It is packed with ideas that really do change the way you grow fruit and veg. I touched on some of those ideas when we talked about our own vegetable garden, and I really drew massive inspiration from this book, and I'd like to show you a couple of pages that demonstrate what I mean. The New Self-Sufficient Gardener then, beautifully illustrated as all his books are, and it starts with the basics. It talks about how you produce good quality soil in order to get good quality crops. It goes through the different types of vegetables you might want to grow, root vegetables and leaf vegetables and stem vegetables, but it digs into the detail. It gives you great guides, like a seasonal guide. What should I think about in the spring, the summer, the autumn, the winter? And it's step-by-step approaches that I like. So it'll then build on that and talk about bed design, crop rotation, all those things you really need to consider. And then it gives you the gold. Things like if you standardize your beds, you can have standardized covers that are mini greenhouses or insect protection or bird protection. Brilliant book. Love it. Now, once you've got your vegetables grown, you are inevitably going to end up with a glut and you're going to have to preserve some. And for that, I really recommend this book, The Complete Book of Home Preserving by Bull, who are an American company who make canning jars and the likes. Super book. If you've ever thought about canning your own soups and stews and fruit compotes and pie fillings and all those other great things, this book will take you through how to do it step by step. It will also give you all the recipes to follow and the techniques to use to do it safely. Really good. If you want to think about jarring, bottling, canning, all those kind of preserving techniques for your own food, for your own meat, for your own vegetables, for your own fruit, this is the book to get. The Complete Book of Home Preserving is another book with a massive breadth of knowledge in it. It's not a single subject book. It starts off teaching you all the preserving techniques you need to know. Here is an example of 3 different ways of testing whether your jam is going to set properly. But then it leads you into the recipes that follow the techniques that it's taught you so that you can actually practically apply them. But it covers a huge amount. So as an example of something a little bit less usual, a whole variety of ways to make mustard. Yeah, we've got a video on it, but very few people do it. It covers the traditional stuff, so pickles and chutneys, etc. But then it leads you into canning, which is far less common in the UK. And it covers both water bath and pressure canning. So you can preserve not just fruit and vegetables, but also meats and savouries and stews. A real breadth of understanding of different preserving techniques. So you've planned your vegetable garden using John Seymour's technique. You've canned and preserved your produce using the Bull Book of Home Preserving. What's the next step on self-reliance? Well, producing your own seed. And for that, this is the book, Back Garden Seed Saving by Sue Stickland. Cracking book and a real gem. If you've got a vegetable garden or an allotment here in your life and they're great at growing veg, and again you want to get them something they haven't even thought about, get them producing their own seed. And in this book Sue shows how to do it. She covers all the techniques of seed saving, but she also goes through and shows a lot of crops. So how do I seed save carrots? How do I seed save aubergines? How do I seed save leeks? You can look it up in the book and it'll give you a step-by-step guide. Let's take a quick look. Back Garden Seed Saving really breaks into 3 sections. It has a section on why you would want to do it, a section on how to do it, and then a crop-by-crop guide. Under the why section, it does explain how many plants and how many types of plants have been preserved by independent small seed savers. In the how-to, it talks about how to raise the crops, but also then how to extract the seed, how to remove chaff, how to blow away debris, how to dry the seed appropriately, and how long that seed will last, because not all seed lasts forever. And in the 3rd section, it goes through crop by crop. And it doesn't just give you a single page on a type of crop, it gives you several pages on how to sow it, how to grow it, how to gather its seed, and the different varieties and types that you might want to consider. So you've established your orchard, you've grown your garden, you've preserved your produce, you've even got your own seed going. What next? How do you become more productive? How do you become more self-reliant? You look after your pollinators and you keep bees. Lots of people really love the idea of bees, not just because honey is fabulous, which it is, and by the way, if you keep bees you get beeswax, and look through our videos, and we cover using beeswax for everything from furniture polish to saddle soap to shoe polish and many more things besides. Beeswax is incredibly useful, as is honey, as is propolis. So as well as all of that, you get increased yield from your crops because they're well pollinated, and you do the world a favour. The world needs to look after its honeybees. So for someone who's interested in that, what do I recommend? Well, there is the BBKA, the British Beekeepers Association Handbook of Beekeeping, but honestly, it's not the best reference work that I've found. This is. It's called A Guide to Bees and Honey by Ted Hooper. The chap who taught Fiona and I beekeeping turned us on to this book, and it is great. If you really want to pick up a book, understand what's involved in beekeeping, this covers it all. Let's take a quick look. The Guide to Bees and Honey is not a book to inspire you to keep bees. It's illustrated, but only in black and white line drawings and occasional black and white photographs. So the book is really a reference book. It will cover the breadth of understanding that you need on beekeeping. It'll cover how to get started. It'll cover even obscure material. So this page is illustrating how to site different hives to ensure that the right bees go back to the right hive. But it covers how to handle bees. It covers bee anatomy. It covers even things like how to manage swarming and how to deliberately breed bees and split colonies. So it's not a book to read to inspire you to keep bees, but if you've decided to keep bees, it's a great book to really understand the subject. So moving on from fruit, veg and bees, where will we go next on our journey of self-sufficiency? Well, livestock is a good place to go, and a great place to start with livestock is chickens. Now, if you want to keep chickens and you want a primer, something to really teach you about what's involved, what do I need to know, I cannot recommend this book strongly enough. It is the Haynes Chicken Manual. Yes, I know, for those of us of a certain age, Haynes manuals were the workshop manuals for vehicles, and they taught you how to service them and change the plugs and the oil and the filters and all those other good things. But Haynes do manuals on livestock now, and the Haynes Chicken Manual is honestly the best introduction to chicken keeping I've ever come across. It covers housing and health and feed and anatomy and all sorts of things, all the basics you need to know to keep chickens. The Haynes Chicken Manual is a beautifully illustrated book, and it's packed with high quality colour photographs to show you everything you need to know. It's got a good introduction that covers all the basic questions about, can I sell my eggs? What kind of welfare do the chickens need? What's the law on chicken keeping? It gives you a brilliant guide to breeds. In our opinion, Buff Orpingtons clearly are the best, but it covers all the other breeds as well, just in case. There's a great section on feeding and watering. It covers not just how much to feed your chickens, but what to feed them, which can be very confusing to start with. Good section on anatomy that covers all the terms like wattles and spurs and combs and all those other good things. And a great section on chicken health, which is really handy to have. It's often quite worrying to start with, and you don't know what to look for to make sure your birds are doing well. Overall, a really good primer for the first-time chicken keeper. Like most people, our chicken keeping started off with buying in some point-of-lay hens and keeping them to produce eggs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But on our self-reliant journey, eventually you need to replace those hens, and we got to thinking, well, why are we paying other people to breed chickens for us? Why don't we breed our own chickens? And this is the book that really helped us on that journey. It's Hatching and Brooding Your Own Chicks by Gail Damerow. It's brilliant. It's really extensive. It covers everything from, what do I need to get a fertile egg, through how long does the chicken sit on the eggs, what kind of an environment does she need, how does the egg develop inside, what can I do to help them hatch, what about incubators, what about broody hens. It's all in there. So if you're thinking of starting breeding, and it's not just chickens, it covers turkeys, ducks, geese, guinea fowl, all the other types. Great book. And a great book for someone you know who started out on their chicken keeping and maybe wants to know just a little bit more. What we really liked about this book is it sets out options, it sets out different ways of doing things. So it absolutely will cover all the equipment you need, where you're going to keep your chicks, how you're going to feed them, how you're going to give them water. But it gives choices, it shows different approaches to it. It covers chick health, which is a very important matter, but one that it deals with sensitively and straightforwardly. And then it lays out other options. So, do I want to do this with a broody hen? Or perhaps, do I want to use an incubator and hatch the chicks that way? Gives you all the different options available to you, and also fascinating reference works. This is one of my favourites. This covers the 21-day incubation period and shows the chick developing day by day by day. It's a great book, sets out all you need to know to breed. I wanted to include at least one book in this episode that wasn't to do with food, that wasn't to do with vegetables or preserving or seeds or livestock or meat or eggs, but was to do with all the other making things that a self-reliant journey is all about. And I chose this one, The Handmade Soap Book by Melinda Koss. My copy is dog-eared and battered and scrolled on, and that's because I use it all the time. It's a fabulous, fabulous book. Modern soap is one of two things generally. It's either horribly, horribly expensive, or it contains palm oil. And actually, I don't want either of those things. For centuries, families made their own soap from local ingredients. They made a fabulous, high quality product that didn't cost the earth. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's what this book taught me to do. And if that's the sort of journey you're on, or if you know someone in your life who's just likes crafts and making and interesting things like that, I cannot recommend soap making as a hobby, and these kind of books by Melinda Koss in particular, too highly. They are brilliant, the process is simple, the end result is fantastic. Give it a go. This version of the Handmade Soap Book's out of print, but there's a newer version that I'll link to down below. The book is great because it assumes no knowledge. It starts out and explains the terms, explains the techniques, explains what soap making is all about. It'll take you through the materials and equipment you need, and don't be put off by that because almost everything you need is already in the average domestic kitchen. It will talk about the ingredients you use and what the properties of each are and why you might want to include them in your soap. It includes a thing called a saponification chart, and that allows you to calculate the precise ratios of ingredients you will need to create a soap if you're making the recipe from scratch. It'll walk you through the techniques you need to use, and you do need to be a little bit careful with soap making because there's hot oils and chemicals involved. And finally, if you don't want to create your own recipes, it gives you a great variety of different pre-made recipes with different botanicals, different scents and different properties for you to make at home. It's a great hobby, it produces a great result, and I strongly recommend it. That's our top 8 picks for books that really helped us on our self-reliant, self-sufficient journey. Books that we still keep in our library, we still refer back to because the information they contain has proven itself year after year after year. Any one of them will make a fabulous present for yourself or for your loved one. If you've enjoyed this video, can you spare us 5 seconds? Give us a thumbs up down below. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to do a few more of these practical present type videos, and if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, or any topic generally on the smallholding self-sufficient lifestyle, please leave us a comment. We love hearing from you. If you want to see more from us, hit subscribe, hit the bell next to it, and you'll hear every time we upload a new video. But whatever you do, come back and see us soon. Take care.